One of the most chilling and well-documented paranormal cases is the Villisca Axe murder house in Villisca, Iowa. This case involves the brutal murder of an entire family and their 2 guests in 1912, and the subsequent reports of paranormal activity surrounding the home. ##### the murders. On the night of June 9, 1912, 6 members of the Moore family, Josiah, father, Sarah, mother, and their 4 children were brutally murdered in their sleep with an axe. Also killed were 2 young house guests, Lena and Ina Stillinger. The victims were found the next morning by a neighbor, after the family failed to show up for church. The scene was gruesome. All the victims had been bludgeoned to death with an axe, and the killer had covered their faces with bedclothes. Strangely, no signs of forced entry were found, and the town of Villisca was left in shock. Despite extensive investigations and numerous suspects, including a man named Reverend George Kelly, the case remains unsolved. Kelly was arrested but later released, and the crime was never definitively solved, leaving the haunting to linger in local legend. ##### The haunting. In the years that followed the murders, the Villisca house became the subject of rumors and eerie accounts. People began to report strange occurrences near the property, with many believing the restless spirits of the murdered family still lingered in the house. Some witnesses claimed to hear unexplained noises, particularly the sounds of footsteps, whispers, and children crying coming from inside the house. Despite no one being there in the 1990s, the house was open to the public as a historical site and later a location for paranormal investigations. It quickly became one of the most famous haunted locations in the United States. Paranormal teams, including the Ghost Adventures crew, reported a wide range of strange phenomena during their investigations, from unexplained sounds to objects moving on their own. ##### Notable experiences. 1. Apparitions. Visitors have reported seeing figures, particularly the shadows of children, and in some cases, people have claimed to have seen the ghostly form of Josiah Moore standing in the doorway. 2. Physical contact. Some have experienced physical sensations like being touched or grabbed by unseen hands. A number of investigators have reported feeling cold spots, and some even claim to have been scratched or pushed. 3. Children's voices. Some have heard the voices of children laughing, crying, or calling out in the house. These sounds are particularly disturbing given the tragic deaths of the young Moore children and their guest. 5. Disembodied whispers. Paranormal investigators have captured numerous instances of whispering voices on their audio equipment. These whispers sometimes say phrases like "get out" or "help me." #### Skepticism and controversy. As with many haunted locations, skepticism surrounds the claims of paranormal activity at the Villisca Axe murder house. Some critics suggest that the eerie reports could be the result of the house's tragic history combined with suggestion and the power of the mind. Others argue that the house's association with a brutal crime and its eerie atmosphere might have led to psychological projections by those who visit. However, there are numerous individuals and paranormal investigators who strongly believe the house is haunted, pointing to the strange, consistent experiences that cannot be easily explained. Some even claim that the entity or entities haunting the house are directly tied to the tragic events of that night in 1912. #### Conclusion. The Villisca Axe murder house remains a source of both fascination and fear. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, the house stands as a chilling reminder of a horrific crime that remains unsolved. The story of the Moore family and their guests continues to capture the imagination of those who seek out the paranormal, and the house itself remains a place where the boundary between the living and the dead feels disturbingly thin. The Villisca Axe murder house is, without a doubt, one of the most haunted locations in America. Subscribe.